Welcome to the No Dunks podcast presented by FanDuel. We've got a fun one today. I'm Tas Mellis in the Classic Factory. Beside me, it's the man in the middle, Trey Kirby.
Heyo.
Ayo.
Heyo. Oh, yeah, I got to say something.
The man making the magic happen. He's got so many things on the go. He's bringing in a doc from Ohio in a second. It's JD.
Hello.
What's going on, JD? We good?
We're good.
We're great.
We're so great.
We're so good because we've got Dr. James Borchers joining us via Zoom. There he is. Thank you so much, Dr. Borchers, for joining us. You wear so many hats. You've got such an extensive resume. We're going to get to it as we go along in this interview. We appreciate you joining us right now. I'll start with a generic question for you, because one of the hats that you wear as the president and CEO of the U.S. Council for Athletes Health that you started 7 years ago, you and your fellow doctors, you discuss, you literally are hand to hand with teams, organizations from all age levels, whether it's youth, high school, college, and you get to the bottom of what's going on with those teams and organizations trying to optimize their players' health. So the generic question is, as you see here in the NBA, there are a lot of injuries with stars. Number one, is there a reason for that? Number two, is there anything that the NBA can do to adopt sort of a generic plan to help those injuries?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, guys. First of all, great to be on with you, and appreciate you taking on this topic and having me on to talk about it. I think, to start, let me just say that I think athletics today, we are seeing more and more injuries at every level, but certainly, as you mentioned, in the sport of basketball, and I think that you have to start looking back at what is going on in youth sports, or what's been going on in youth sports for the past 15 years with increased volumes, increased sports specialization. And so you start to add all that up over time. And no matter what you're doing currently, there is an effect of everything that's happened from AAU basketball to college basketball. And then you see athletes getting into the NBA and the increased then, training that they're doing even at this level. So I think there's a cumulative effect, right? And it's not just about what happens once somebody gets to the NBA. And I think we've got to look at youth sport and, and what's going on there to try to affect some of the injuries that we're seeing. But then I think also, why didn't we see as much of this in the past? And I think we look at what goes on in the off season, what goes on with load management, what goes on not just in the game, but what goes on around the game, and how often are we allowing athletes to recover? What does the season look like? What's the cadence of the activity level? And I think the NBA tries to do that. I think every sports league is trying to look at, how can we minimize those effects? But you guys know as well as anybody else, you start, adding games, wanting more games, more playoffs, add in other events, international events, Olympic events, off-season training. That cumulative effect is just going to lead to wear and tear and breakdown.
So specifically, as you said, the accumulation that we've seen, especially with Achilles injuries, is that stemming from youth ball, as you said, like AAU all the way up to the professional level? Is it just, as we've seen with Tyrese Halliburton, for instance, or Jason Tatum, all of these, is it just an accumulation, or is it just these one-time events that just happen to happen?
No, it has a cumulative effect. In my opinion, it has to do with the amount of load that Achilles, for example, is seeing over the course of a career, and the increased amount of activity. We just, at the youth level, at adolescent level, people are just doing more. They specialize. They don't, have multi-sport athletes. They're only playing one sport, and so you see the cumulative effect of breakdown on a tissue, and I think that plays a big role then in what happens. And then you see these micro injuries or minor injuries, and that can lead to what we see with the Achilles. And so certainly that plays a big part in it. There may be just some predisposition for an individual to have an Achilles injury, but I think it's a cumulative effect of what you see in micro injuries over time, and then partial injuries is what ends up causing a lot of these soft tissue type injuries, and especially an Achilles injury in a jumping athlete like a basketball player.
Hearing you explain it, it basically sounds like even young players are getting to the NBA with a lot more miles on their legs because they're playing a lot more games through AAU, through their high school teams, their different high school programs, and they're only playing in basketball games rather than, you know, the 3-sport athletes of this guy was the best athlete in the entire school. So of course he was our best player in every single sport. That doesn't happen quite as often. Why is that the case? Why does specializing in basketball lead to more injuries when you're playing basketball?
Well, it's just you're doing the same activity over and over and over again, and think about AAU guys. Sometimes you play 2, 3, 4 games in a day.
Yes.
We've heard of AAU kids playing, 12 games in a weekend. And you start thinking about the cumulative effect. I'm just telling you, younger athletes, they get to college or they get through high school, get to college, young athletes in the NBA, they just have more wear and tear on their bodies. And that's the professionalization of youth sport. I mean, anything, you want to talk about, it's what we've done with youth sport, and youth athletes can't train like adult athletes. They can't handle the loads of adult athletes. Oftentimes we're putting more on them than we even are on college or professional athletes. So you're going to end up with more problems and more injuries, and they may not show itself until, they start to get further along in their career, or they're able to, compensate for some of that, but then they're they're going to see these injuries as they move forward. It's not just the Achilles tendon, patellar tendon, knee issues. We're seeing more hip issues. It's just the wear and tear on an athlete, with all the increased volume and training that goes on at the youth level.
Specifically with Achilles, I've heard you talk about how modern day recoveries for Achilles are so much faster. Is that the case across all sports? Is it just an age thing where you see a younger player, like I brought up Tyrese Halliburton, who just had it several months ago, but we're expecting him back early? Why the change there? Why has it become faster?
I think you mentioned a good point. We're seeing it in younger athletes. Younger athletes recover better. When you used to see the Achilles injury in the rec basketball league and the 45-year-old, that's a lot different than a 25-year-old, and how they're going to recover. I think the surgical techniques are obviously better today. But the biggest thing is the rehabilitation, the constant rehabilitation that goes on around these injuries, especially for professional athletes. They're getting, round the clock rehabilitation and care, and that certainly helps them to recover faster. And so there's a benefit to that. And I think that, that ability to rehab, and not just doing it once or twice a week, but when you're spending hours a day in a rehab and recovering, you're just going to recover faster. And I think we've seen some pretty amazing comebacks, just because of the advancement in rehabilitation science and how we get people back from those types of injuries.
Yeah, as far as rehab and recovery, we all sort of hear it. Oh, it's incredibly important. But then hearing you speak about it in a lot of your interviews, you prioritize it so much. I just wonder, with the NBA, we don't have a sort of a uniform plan across the board for the NBA and team by team. We just don't have a minister of sports to implement that. Go do this. Is there some way for the NBA to have something like that? Should they have sort of a uniform plan?
Well, I think that as much as they can, I mean, obviously each individual is a little bit different. I think as much as they can with scheduling, as much as they can with, how the cadence of the season works, what resources are available to teams. I can tell you NBA teams, I mean, they have incredible resources. Obviously, they've got physical therapists and sports scientists and rehabilitation specialists, athletic training specialists, with their teams. But even with all of that, you can't undo, I think, what's gone on in the past. And I'm not trying to overemphasize that. And the NBA probably, just like all sports leagues, is most concerned about what has already gone on to an athlete, when they get to the NBA, because you can't undo, the things that happened in the past. So affecting youth sport, affecting, the education of youth sport, what happens with young athletes, parents educating themselves on what's important to make certain that an athlete can remain healthy and competitive and perform at their best as they go forward. There's just no benefit to breaking your body down at age 15 and 16 at the detriment of what could happen to you when you're 19, 20, 21. You might be in college or might be going into the NBA or onto another, higher level of sport. So as much as I'm certain the NBA could try to do some things, it's really hard to undo what's happened in someone's past.
We're dads here. What's the age that we should see our kids actually start specializing? Because youth sport is incredibly competitive, and it can at times feel like you're getting left behind if you're not devoting yourself to just one thing and doing everything you can to get better at whatever your sport might be. But like you're saying, the intensity of it, the regularity, the frequency of it can be an overload for young athletes.
Yeah, look, the evidence is out there. You guys know this. The best athletes in the world in every sport are multi-sport athletes. They're good at a lot of different things, and they play a lot of different sports. The development of an athlete requires a lot of skills, and sport specialization at a young age doesn't improve your ability to play that sport. And so I tell parents all the time, let your kids play a lot of sports, probably till they get into their, young or mid high school ages. And then if there is a sport that they love and they want to specialize, obviously you can pay more attention to it then. But even then, they should be doing different things to continue to develop their bodies. And look, just because you're spending, 60 hours a week on a sport doesn't mean that you're going to be great at it. You're going to be better if you have overall development. And so I think especially in youth sport, it's a huge mistake to think that, oh, my kid, isn't doing, I think we put a lot of misperceptions out there, like, oh, if you're not training, all year round, then you're not going to be great at that. It's just not the case. I mean, you guys know this, like you can go and watch athletes. It doesn't take very much time at all to pick out who the great athletes are. Yep. And they're usually really good at a lot of different things if you give them something to do. So I think in youth sport, let your kids play a lot of different sports, let them develop a lot of different skill sets, and they're going to be better athletes. They're also going to have less wear and tear. They're not going to have burnout. They're not going to have all the mental, hygiene issues that we see in youth sport burnout. I think the idea of having fourth, fifth, sixth graders playing on AAU teams and traveling around the country and playing basketball all weekend and those sorts of things, you just don't see high-level athletes usually come out of that sort of setting.
Mm-hmm. Something we haven't seen cover in the NBA for the last 20 years or so is the number of calf and hamstring injuries at this rate, this early in the season. We saw this graph from Sportico, and to see how they've jumped this much. Is there a reason, a standard reason to just point at why calf and hamstring injuries are happening, Jim?
Yeah, it's just overall load. Yeah. I mean, it's just, look at the time between the end of season, start of season, what players are doing during that time. Again, I know I've beaten it up, but the history of the amount of load that's been there. And then I think just what you're asking, I heard a coach recently talk about it from the NBA of like, we're just doing nothing but playing. Like we don't even have time to recover. We don't have time to practice. We're traveling. Are we tired? Fatigue. Are we really giving people a chance to recover? And what's the cumulative effect of that? And I just think eventually, you're going to see this kind of breakdown. And so I think, as much as you want to try to, use periodization and trying to say, oh, we're going to limit back-to-backs, we're going to limit, what we're doing. Players don't practice much during the season. They don't really have time. They're trying to do things to get their body right, but they're playing a lot of games.
You mentioned earlier, talking about Achilles injuries, that you can just be predisposed to an Achilles injury. I assume the same is true for hamstring injuries, calf injuries. Is there anything that certain players can do to combat that sort of thing? I'm thinking about a guy like Zion Williamson, who will be healthy for 10 or 15 games, and then it seems like a hamstring injury is always the thing that always seems to take him down. Yeah. Are there ways to sort of battle those things that just keep popping up?
Well, yeah, the first thing is don't get injured. I mean, the most predictive thing for those kind of injuries are previous injuries. So the more of them you have, the more likely you are to injure, a hamstring or, a calf. But the other thing is paying attention to what we call prehab, or doing the things, that are going to help to prevent injury rather than just playing your sport, and dedicating about as much time to that as you do to your sport. Because if you're not healthy, you're not helping your team. And so if you're predisposed to that kind of injury, if you've had that kind of injury, you got to almost double down and spend as much time with a therapist or rehabilitation specialist, athletic trainer, to make certain that you're doing all of the preventative exercise, all of the preventative flexibility treatment that you can to avoid that type of injury. But in any sport, and especially in a sport like basketball, if you've had a previous hamstring or calf injury, and if you've had recurrent injuries, the risk of that injury goes way up. And so as you guys know, just look at the players. If you don't have injury, you're just so much less likely to be injured.
One interesting thing we see in the NBA is there haven't been a ton of injuries with specifically tall players recently, but players are getting taller, lineups are getting taller. And I don't know if there's something that we can just say, well, those players are going to get injured more, but really they haven't. Are these taller lineups that are happening in the NBA something that should be looked at, speculated, worried about? Because really it hasn't been something that has been a problem in recent history, as we see this graph from
Their legs are simply
Jacob
too
Sutton.
long, Tas.
They're getting taller, mainly because they are getting more skilled. The taller players are getting more skilled, so we're seeing them, and coaches are saying, we got to go bigger. Is that something that we should be watching, or is there anything to note of players' height right now?
Well, I actually think that if you look back in history, think about the tall players. I'm thinking about a guy like Greg Oden. I mean, just playing down in the basket, his skill set, of tall players was really in the post. But look at it. Look at the skill set and the athletic development of taller players today. I mean, the way they handle the ball, the way they move, is so much better than what it was in the past. And so I think that, again, in that development of being an athlete, of how you develop your skill set is so important, much more so than the height of a player. Mm-hmm. So I think you look at a guy like, KD or one of these guys, I mean, look at how they move, look at how they handle the ball, look at their athleticism as opposed to how they run. I mean, think about that, and then look at the people that have had a lot of injuries, foot injuries, and thinking about how they moved and what people were doing in, the older era, I guess, of the NBA. And, at a younger age, these taller athletes are developing a better skill set. They're better athletes. And they're actually going to be better off, again, if they're doing things other than just, standing in the post all the time or doing the same activity all the time. So I don't know that height matters as much as some of the things we've talked about before, but I just think you're just seeing amazing athletic ability out of taller athletes, which I would say, if you look at generations past, decades past, we just didn't see that type of athleticism out of, taller athletes because they were kind of put into a certain position until we could learn that, hey, they really can be athletic. They can do some different things.
No, to hear the positivity is fantastic. To hear that the game is better as we've been watching it get better, as you said. We've been doing this show forever, and yes, taller players just have better skill sets.
They can do stuff. They can do stuff now.
They can do
amazing stuff for people that are 7 feet tall. I mean, to watch that. I mean, look, guys, 15 years ago, if you'd have seen a 7-footer, you'd have say, get down on the block. Every once in a while, you saw a guy like Shaq could run the floor or whatever, but he wasn't out on the perimeter handling the ball. I mean, it's just amazing to watch some of these guys today and the skills that they've developed.
And your work with, as I said, the youth level and college, high school as well. Do you see all players just sort of working on that skill set, no matter the height? Is it just what is happening at that level? They're just taught in a different way now?
Yeah, I think it's the game. I think you just see a different approach to the game of basketball. I think how people approach the game of basketball and what they, are modeling. For example, after these NBA players, it doesn't matter that you're tall. You can still develop an incredible athletic skill set. And these kids are asked to do that now because you can see the effect it can have on the game. So rather than just spending all your time, down in the lane and, guarding the post and doing those sorts of things, I think certainly the way the game's played and the way the game's being played at youth and high school and college level is different. And that allows, those athletes to develop that skill set.
And it's a lot more fun, too, because if you were a big guy in the 1990s, you had to wait for a guard to pass you the ball rather than just going out there and getting it yourself. Steve Kerr's a guy who's been really outspoken about the increased rate of injuries in the NBA. He's blamed some of the problem on the increased pace. He's also had a lot of things to say about the Warriors' schedule early in the season, with them playing multiple back-to-backs and having to travel across the country a whole bunch of times. So to me, there's kind of like three pieces to what Steve Kerr has been saying: the pace of the game, the schedule, and just the amount of games that they're playing on a night-to-night basis, and the travel in between the games. Is there something that you see that's kind of the biggest factor in the increased rate of injuries?
Well, I think it's how do athletes recover? Mm-hmm. And I think all three of those things play into that. And look, I think the secret sauce to athletics today is recovery. How do you recover physically, mentally, emotionally? All that allows you to perform at your highest level. And if you're not able to do that because you're not sleeping well, because you're traveling a lot, because you've got back-to-back contests, because you don't ever have any time to practice or to do the things that you need to get your body to recover, if your nutrition isn't good, if your hydration isn't good, all of that is going to add up and lead to more wear and tear of what we see. And I know people talk about, oh, that's the way it was in the past, but I don't think we saw as much of maybe what what Steve's referring to as, the travel, the back-to-backs, how the game's played today. Are we taking all that into consideration and then thinking about what an athlete needs to be able to perform? And so I think all of those play a huge role, but you guys know, is just like anybody else, take a couple coast to coast flights and see how you feel, even if you're not an NBA player. And if you don't have the right sleep and your sleep gets disrupted and hydration, you do as much as you can to mitigate that. I know that the NBA and their teams put a ton of study into how to best do that. But look, you get done with a game and you got to jump on a plane or you got to fly somewhere, you've crossed time zones, you're sleeping differently, how's your nutrition? Even if you pay attention to all that, fatigue's going to set in and you're going to be at risk. So I think all of those things play a role in how athletes recover and then ultimately how they perform and what risk they're at.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about my load management plan for the holidays because I know it's going to throw me off from a living standpoint, traveling back and forth and just eating for, a week and a half straight. But listening to you talk, Doc, it sounds like you are generally in support of the way that NBA players have gotten smarter about load management and, resting maybe the third night of 3 games in 4 nights or the second night of a back-to-back. There was the big player participation policy, which came into effect in the NBA quite recently to keep the star players on the court. But it sounds like in general, you would support the plans that have been put in place where we want our stars on the court as much as possible, but the way to keep them on the court is by keeping them healthy.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I don't think it's fair to ask any athlete, regardless of the level, to try to compete in conditions where they're just not able to perform at their best. And what does your best look like? Not everybody has it every night, but, let's make certain that we recognize how people perform at their best and what we're asking them to do and how that maybe look different today than it maybe did in generations past. And especially, I just think looking at the athletes, and I just can't emphasize it enough, I just think it's different what these athletes have done in the youth athletic space coming up, and that wear and tear on their body is just different than it was 25, 30 years ago. Kids were doing different things. They were playing multiple sports. They weren't playing as much AAU. They weren't traveling as much. They just didn't have those sorts of effects. So I think you got to take all that into account and make the best plan you can moving forward. I think people just need to recognize that just because you got 3 games in 4 nights and maybe somebody's sitting out that third game, it's not just that third game that's part of the issue. And it's not just what's going on this season that's part of the issue. It's part of the whole environment around sport. And it might be what that 24 or 25 or 30-year-old was doing when they were 15. Yeah. That's a lot different than what a generation ago was doing when they were 15. That's leading to some of this.
We've got to shorten the season. We've said it.
It sounds like a lot of the cause is too much basketball. Unfortunately.
Yeah. One thing
I
that
think
we
at a young age. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I think, like I told you guys, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth graders, and the amount of basketball that they're playing, the amount of any sport that they're playing, if they're specializing, it's crazy. I mean, I'm an old guy now, but I think back to the days, you didn't even think about that kind of sport specialization. First of all, my parents would have never, would have never done that. You just played for your school. But
Yes.
now, I mean, you got kids that are playing way more than 82 games in a year in their own, season. So I do. I think sports specialization at a youth level is a huge deal. And just look at the athletes. And I just told you guys, if you get injured, the likelihood of re-injury is so much greater, and that carries through with you. That doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm. Before we let you go, want to end on one positive note. You said the 82 games.
Yeah.
We are seeing players play more of those 82 game seasons than in prior eras of the NBA. Guys are just having longer careers. Is it the recovery, the knowledge that that's what comes along with being an NBA player now?
It's how they take care of their bodies.
Yeah.
Like you just can't believe the amount of emphasis, right, on how they recover, what they're putting into their, recovery, how they pay attention to what they eat, the teams they surround themselves with. And I think, it's incredible to see the commitment that, people can make and be playing into their 30s and 40s and, and look at what they're able to, do. But that takes an amazing commitment. It takes an amazing team around you. It takes amazing dedication. And not to say that, people weren't dedicated like that, but we understand the science better now. We understand what it takes to perform at your highest for a longer period of time. And I just think you see more athletes dedicated to their craft, dedicated to what it takes to do that for a long period of time. And I think that helps, obviously, in those prolonged careers that we're seeing now. It's just amazing to see how long some of these folks are playing. But I know what some of these guys do in the off season. I know what some of them are doing in the season and how much time and how many of their own resources they're dedicating to that. And I think that's why you're seeing it.
Well, you said you're an old guy. So are we. We're trying to prolong our careers as well. We don't have the resources that a LeBron James has to pour into his body to stay healthy at 41. What's something that us normal people can do to stay healthy when we're trying to get out there and, make a highlight reel for Instagram?
Yeah, I think there's kind of three, things that you can do. One, right, is exercise every day. And that doesn't mean that you got to go, destroy yourself every day. But I think exercise, you're moving, you're doing things, obviously is going to keep you healthy. Number two is nutrition, paying attention to nutrition. You got to live life, but how do you eat and how do you take care of yourself? And then I think the third thing is, do you give yourself a chance to recover? I mean, our society is so used to burning the candle, and I'm guilty of this, put in these huge days and, do you rest? Do you recover? Do you take time to, gear back a little bit? Are you sleeping appropriately? And I think if you follow those things, you're going to prolong a lot, right? You're going to be able to do things for longer and be able to, do the things you like to do for longer. So I think if you take, what's my activity level look like? Am I active every day? Do I pay attention to my nutrition? And then do I find a way to recover? Do I sleep well? Do I, find some time where I'm gearing back and not letting stress and, and all those things affect me? If you can accomplish that, I think you got a great chance to be healthy and happy and do the things that you like to do.
I was worried you were going to say sleep. I knew it was coming up, but it's just so fun to watch those West Coast games, That's
Look,
the tough part.
You can wear all the wearables you want. You can take all the supplements you want. The best recovery modality out there is sleep. And there's nothing that substitutes for it. So if you don't sleep, you can do all these other things and you can monitor all these other things. Sleep is, it's just imperative. It's kind of the secret sauce, as I tell people, to you don't have to invest much in it except your time and commitment to doing it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Commitment to doing it.
Sleep is free. One of the few things out there.
That's right. Sleep is free.
Yeah, well, we won't force you to listen to this story I've got, Jim, about my lack of sleep last night. It was just too hot. It's too hot in my bed. My wife and I have had separate blankets for years. Anyways, we'll stop there. Jim, thank you so much for coming on. Hope to have you back on later in the season. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Anytime. Really enjoyed it.
All right, Jim. Dr. James Borchers joining us today. We've got lots to get to. We got Franz Wagner injury news. We got to talk about plenty of other trade proposals. What are you smiling about?
I slept bad last night too. It was hot in my room as well.
Yeah.
I'm playing the last 5 minutes for our wives.
Yeah.
We're turning down the temps to
No
recover.
doubt. Well, mine was that it was too cold in my room last Friday, so we went back to the heavy duvet on my side because I woke up because it was too cold, but now it's too hot. I was sweating.
All right, Goldilocks.
I was sweating. I was sweating hotter than a workout that I do. It's literally, I'm still wet. Anyways, we'll get to everything I mentioned there, but first, a word from our sponsors.
The NBA Cup elimination round is upon us. For the cup. FanDuel is your home for live betting, so even if you missed the start of the Cup game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join, especially if you respect the Cup. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Back with the show. I actually just went to FanDuel to see if they added a line on how many games Joel Embiid versus LeBron James will play in the future. Who's going to play more, essentially? They haven't added it. I wouldn't mind just like a private website, private URL in FanDuel for us. Even if you're not going to put it out there for us, because that's a great question.
Money Melis's picks. Who would you take, LeBron or Joel Embiid?
I got Embiid in part because I don't know when LeBron's retiring. It might be this year.
Could be his last year.
Yeah, so I'm taking the guy who's getting paid for multiple years beyond this one.
Yeah, but I guess the argument would be that even if LeBron only plays one season, maybe he plays more games in one season than Embiid plays in the next 3.5.
I agree. That's why it's a great bet.
All right, so I would say, if I were setting the line, I would say FanDuel goes Embiid minus 150.
So he's the heavy favorite?
He's the favorite, yeah. That's a pretty strong favorite.
Yeah, maybe. I think you're going a little too heavy. I think it's...
All right, fine. Minus 120.
Yeah, minus 120. And
Money's coming down the other side, apparently.
I'm still taking Embiid.
Get your votes in. I'll throw a poll up here in a second.
I can do that.
Tass will do it while I talk about Franz Wagner. The Magic got some sort of good news yesterday. Franz Wagner avoided a major injury as an MRI showed no damage to his knee, but he's got a high ankle sprain after taking that hard fall against the Knicks. Now, there's no official timeline for his return. That's just how the Magic do things. But a high ankle sprain usually keeps players out 2 to 4 weeks. The Magic said it'll depend on how Franz responds to the treatment. So they're kind of just treating this as an ankle sprain and saying, hey, whenever he's back, he will be back. What'd you think about this, Tass? Franz Wagner avoiding a major, major injury.
Yeah, I think you got to be extremely happy that no tendon, no soft tissue injury, as Dr. Borchers mentioned there. That's the optimal experience. No knee ligament, no tendon. It's a high ankle sprain. As Shams originally reported, the general return is 2 to 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's an optimal situation. And I kind of I think this has become a habit of NBA teams now, just to say we are not setting a timeline. And if we do set a timeline, it's way further in the future than his actual return date. I think that's happening more and more. We saw it a little bit with Luka earlier this year. Now, wasn't way further in the future, but a week when he'll be reevaluated, and he came back in 6 days. There's another one that I'm forgetting about already that already happened. There was definitely another one. So
yeah. AD maybe. I don't know what it was. Somebody came back from a calf strain a little bit early.
Yeah. So in this situation, Paolo Banchero now has the opportunity just to be more of the guy. Is that a bad thing? I know you mentioned that you're kind of cognizant of what's happening there in Orlando.
Well, I like Paolo as a player for sure, but the Magic took off when he went down with injury. They had started turning things around before he went down with his malady. The thing with Paolo is that he handles the ball and pounds the ball a lot more than Franz Wagner does. Franz will get off of it as soon as it's time to get off of it. He's a right play machine, and Paolo's not always that guy. But I think in his couple of games returning to the Magic before Franz went out with injury, he was really trying to fit in with what they were doing. They're playing a lot more guards. They are moving the ball quickly in the half-court scenarios. They're actually scoring a bunch of fast break points, and it looked to me like he was trying to be a part of what the Magic had going on. They need him to both fit in and fit out at the same time. They need him to be the guy who can score in the last 5 seconds of a shot clock, even though Desmond Bane has been really good doing that the past couple of weeks. But they also need him to move the ball the way Franz did, to get off of it when it's time to, not be the one who has to have the assist, just be the guy who gets the ball moving. So I think he can do that. It's just going to be a different sort of style of play for Paolo than what we've seen. And, fewer mid-range jumpers I think is good. Getting to the rim is good. Franz is getting downhill consistently, but it looked like a concerted effort on Banchero's part to try and be a part of what the Magic have going on. So I'm a little optimistic that he can blend the way he usually plays with the way that Franz Wagner usually plays. Bad news, though, I would say, for the Magic's cup chances, unfortunately, but good news, all things considered, with the way he went down. It looked nasty. So if he only misses a month, I think even that would be awesome.
Right. And they're going to hold him out. The longer, the better, as we see with a lot of scenarios here. Giannis Antetokounmpo out, 2 to 4 weeks, and Doc has said, we are going to push it. We know Giannis wants to push it the other way. He wants to come back as soon as possible because that's Giannis Antetokounmpo, but we're going to push it the other direction. They're busy practicing, 4 days off. He said, we got 4 days off in between games. 2 of those days we're going to take off because they can relax, which I thought was interesting.
It's about recovery, man.
It is about recovery. It's very, very important. LeBron James knows about that, and that's why in our poll, I'm a little surprised. 2/3 of people, 67% of people think LeBron James is going to play more games in the rest of his career. And Rap Stallion 6615 jumps in, and he said, if you make that an official poll, it'll give Bron the inspiration to prove the Embiid voters wrong. He'd play till 60 if need be. I disagree with that. I think he's kind of done with any sort of accolades or numbers. I don't even know if he really cares if he gets to Robert Parrish's most games played record, which he could this year if he played all the way through the end of the season.
Yeah, it's like really close now, right? Yeah. With how many games he missed at the beginning of the season.
I think he's kind of done with that.
I think LeBron is very aware of every record he has a chance of possibly setting. So I think he will stay around until he has that one for sure. And it might be this year.
Yeah. I just don't think it's not that much of a record. But, you're right. I know. That's one that could be passed one day, maybe.
No
perhaps. No?
Well, I guess I wouldn't have thought that Robert Parrish would get broken. But then once players started coming into the NBA as high school players again, it opened the door for that being the case. But, there's nobody like LeBron who started when he was 18 and is still going at 41, nearly 41. And it doesn't feel like this is his last season. We will know ahead of time when it's LeBron's last season, unlike Chris Paul. So
Interesting debate. Maybe, well, right. It's unlikely that this is his last season.
But you think he's just going to retire at the end of a year? No way. He's
going
to want the retirement tour.
Yeah.
It's LeBron.
But at the same time, he didn't even play to start this season. Like, do you want to make your tour a time when you don't show up? Like,
it's the first time ever in his life. He said even when he was a 9-year-old, he was playing at the start of the season. He's saying that won't happen again next year. Celebrate me when I'm back in Cleveland, helping them try and win another title. Just watch that.
Yeah.
End his career where he started it.
Maybe he'll be a Chris
kind
Paul.
Of poetic.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe he'll be a Chris Paul and announce it a month in, knowing it's like, okay, maybe if things don't go well here in December, where he starts to feel older, he'll be like, all right, I'm done. I'll let you guys know. But you're right. He's sure he feel it ain't Chris Paul. He is still LeBron James, so he could last more.
In other Magic news, Desmond Bane was fined $35,000 for chucking that ball at OG Anunoby. Second fine of the year for Desmond Bane. He got docked $2,000 for his ejection in the Hawks game, where he wasn't as nasty of his throw off Onyeka Okongwu. It was more of like a volleyball spike.
Yeah.
That one.
This was hilarious.
This one was hilarious. Worth it, you think?
Yeah.
To throw the ball that hard? I think you should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, and I would say, after the spike on Onyeka Okongwu, the Magic, they turned things around. I got a weak whistle today. They turned things around. That bodes well for their NBA Cup game tonight in their quarterfinal against the Miami Heat.
Woo! We shall see. 2022 also, Bane was fined for kicking the ball into the stands. He's an underrated temper boy. Desmond Bane likes to get into it with some people. Maybe tonight with the bright lights of the Cup game shining upon him, we'll see it some more anger.
It was hilarious, though.
It is pretty funny to watch. He didn't need to do that. He could have just turned and took the ball down the court.
Yeah, he just threw it off him. Hey, it's off him. We're good.
Our ball. In last night's action. Last night's action. Anthony Edwards scored 40 points, but the Suns snapped the Timberwolves' 5-game win streak thanks to a big night from Money Mark Williams. In a sick rookie battle, Derik Queen got his first triple-double, but Dylan Harper got his first game winners. The Spurs beat the Pels. Fun one down in New Orleans. And the Pacers beat the Kings, thanks to 28 and 12 from Andrew Nembhard. Any of these games interest you, Tassie?
Well, that Phoenix-Minnesota game, it's so fun. We try and talk about everything and every player, and I know I give Colin Gillespie lots of love, but Mark Williams, as you just said, he's freaking important for that team, and somehow he's playing and is not getting injured. And speaking of temper boys, Rudy Gobert pushed him to get ejected in the third quarter. That was pretty key in this game. And then Colin Gillespie caught fire in the fourth quarter, scoring 11 points for them. He had a step back. He got space on Jaden McDaniels on a drive. Was there a little bit of a chicken arm? I don't think it was a chicken arm. I think he just had his arm there, and it wasn't a push-off. But the guy scoring 11 points in the fourth quarter is so key. If the Minnesota Timberwolves could just pluck Colin Gillespie off the other team's bench and put him on theirs, they would be so excited because they are so desperate for another guard. And you saw Bones Highland playing in the fourth quarter for this team. That guy had played 1 minute over the previous 3 weeks, about 3 weeks of games, and then he hit 3 buckets in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's doing a little celebration.
He's already celebrating,
yeah,
hitting a shot. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the future of the Minnesota Timberwolves, but that's how desperate they are.
Exactly. Like, he had barely played, and they dusted him off, and he actually played pretty well, but I don't think a reliable option for the Timberwolves. And like you're saying, they just don't have reliable options because otherwise Edwards played well. Randall played pretty well. Gobert was doing well until he went crazy and knocked Mark Williams out of the air. Super dangerous play. He deserved to be ejected for hitting a guy as he was jumping. But Mark Williams was also taking it to him on the other end. I thought he played really well. 6 Suns in double digits. I do think it's interesting, though. 5th 40-point game of the season for Anthony Edwards, and the Timberwolves are only 2-3 when he goes for 40. The guy's having an awesome year. He's almost a 50-40-90 player, averaging like 28 a game. But similar to the way Donovan Mitchell has played with the Cavaliers, sometimes it's just like you have to score this many points for us to do anything on the offensive end of the court. So nice stuff for the Suns to get that road win without Booker. But I really think the Timberwolves are a team that's in need of some sort of a trade to take a little bit of a step forward in the West.
Yeah, I know I talked about Chris Paul as soon as he announced his retirement. I thought if he's going to get traded to a team that has any hopes, that Minnesota would be it. But at the same time, he definitely needs somebody who can create for himself. And as great as Chris Paul is, it's not him right now. I think anything would help. We've seen it in the past. They try many guys. They've tried, Monte Morris last year. They try guys to be that other one besides Anthony Edwards who can create for himself. So I don't know how much Bones Highland plays for this team, but Anthony Edwards, apparently he talks to the coaches every day trying to get Bones Highland involved. And it's not Rob Dillingham, and they're desperate. They're desperate for somebody.
Yeah, I think Bones Highland is a player that players love because he can score. Like, he's a great one-on-one player, and he can get a bucket, and that's probably why Anthony Edwards has a lot of respect for him, and certainly Austin Rivers had a ton of respect for this guy on the broadcast last night. He could not stop talking Bones Highland up as if Bones Highland has really established himself in the NBA, so of course I had to go and figure out why does Austin Rivers love Bones Highland so much.
Oh,
he played as a Denver Nugget when Bones Highland was a rookie. I can see him taking Bones Highland under his wing and say, here's how you ISO, buddy. Here's how you chuck up some shots.
That's funny.
Yeah. Who was the other guy on the broadcast with them? I didn't know who that guy was.
I wasn't tuning in. It was Robbie Hummel?
No, it wasn't. It was Noah Eagle. It was Austin Rivers, and then the other guy who was on the Suns bench. They kept going to him, but I didn't recognize him, and I didn't know who his voice was, and I just never heard them say what his name was. Let me know who that guy was, and let me know how it's possible Grayson Allen did a step back, step through jumper. Took 2 steps to his left, pump fake the 3, steps through perfectly, shoots like a 20-foot floater, swished it in. This was beautiful. A guy like Grayson Allen shouldn't be able to pull that off. That's what Dr. James is talking about. Players are too good these days. We got Grayson Allen pulling off James Harden moves.
So you're telling me you're supportive of that totally legal move?
Footwork was clean.
It was. It was. I know people were hating it.
It looked ridiculous.
It looked weird.
He takes 3 steps without dribbling, and he goes all over the place, but
covered so much court.
Legal Eagle.
It was pretty impressive. So you're cool with Anthony Edwards being selected for the All-Star team? Because I know you were contemplating maybe Julius Randle deserves a little bit more love on this team, but Anthony Edwards is their guy.
They need an All-Star, and Ant is the guy for sure. He is. You know, I feel the same way about him and Randall, that they are both really good players. They're instrumental to the Timberwolves' chances and them getting wins. But there are times when it feels like they're just piling up numbers, and it doesn't necessarily have an effect on the way the team is rolling.
Well, let's give a little love to the Spurs and how they handled the end of that game, because they beat the Pels, and it shouldn't have been as close as it was. But watching Dylan Harper with that, essentially the game winner, taking Saddiq Bey into the paint, that guy had 4 buckets at the rim over the last 6 minutes of this game. He was taking whoever it was.
Yeah.
You get an incredible guy like Herb Jones on him. He went by him. He had Jose Alvarado, who did a really good job staying in front that one time. That was the spin. He got stopped and spin the other direction. That was freaking awesome. And they've got great vibes. I don't know when Wemby comes back, but to see Harper out there and Fox and Castle now who's back, they're cohesive. And if you believe the post-game interviews on the press conference table, Dylan Harper said, quote, "There's no ego between us 3. We all just want to see each other succeed no matter what." End quote. That's a Rook talking about himself and Fox, who's signed this monster contract, and Castle. Is he just a Rook saying the right things? You know, I buy in. At least
he's saying the right things. And the way he plays, it feels like he's about the right things. Dylan Harper, I think the same is true for Stephon Castle. It's like they're all taking big shots when they need to. Fox hit a deep step back too. That was big time in this game, made the clutch free throws as well. But like you're saying, it was Harper who was carrying the team through the majority of the fourth quarter. Some of those finishes were tough, man. He's going with his right hand, playing with his offhand, playing through contact. I was super impressed.
Yeah.
Wemby's back practicing now, I believe. So he's on the way to his return. The Spurs have done a great job without him in their last 10 games. They're 7-3. They got the 6th best offense in the league, but I think they're also like bottom 6. They're 24th in defense in those 10 games. Wemby will change that. He's a defense as soon as he comes back. If they're able to play offense at the level they have since he's gone down with injury, the Spurs become a real second-tier contender, I think, in the Western Conference. They've really clicked. Very, very impressive the way they do things. I think it's because the pregame music that Keldon Johnson chooses.
Oh, yeah.
He had 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton going on. Everybody loving it except for Harrison Barnes, who just got his hands on his head cam. It's like, are we seriously listening to Vanessa Carlton right now?
Oh,
I guess these young boys love it.
That was JD. Was Vanessa Carlton one of your Spotify?
100%.
Yeah. They literally, it's incredible that they are 1 game back of the 2nd seed. They are so freaking close. I mean, it's super tight between 2 and 5. Lakers, Nuggets, Rockets, Spurs. But without Wemby, and as you said, could be coming back, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him take the court in the NBA Cup game.
Ooh, the Willis Reed of the Cup. He's back.
Do they need him? Yeah, it would be nice. They're playing super, super, super good teams now. But Dylan Harper was freaking. I always expect him. Watching him, you expect him to go left, but he can easily go right. He can score wherever. So that's fun to watch, man.
Gets downhill all the time. That was a fun game. Great stuff from Derik Queen. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Pacers have won 4 of their last 6. And they got their guys healthy. They beat the Bulls twice. They beat the Wizards. They beat the Kings last night. Only 3.5 games out of 10th place in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're dead yet.
No.
And, we'll see what happens with the Bucks going forward. I see Shams just said that the writing is on the wall when it comes to trading Giannis. The Bulls have been terrible for 2 weeks. There's a chance the Pacers make a run at the play-in tournament, I would say. And new guy alert for the Pacers, Ethan Thompson. I guess he's played 4 games. This is the first time I've seen him. 3 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. Pacers scored 4 points on those plays. He's the first Ethan in NBA history. Huh. How about that? We've had an Eton Thomas. I know that's what you were thinking. You're like, what about Eton Thomas? But he was Eton, not Ethan.
I was totally shocked when you said that I didn't think of Eton Thomas at all. I just would think that there'd be one from like the 50s or 60s or something.
Yeah.
It's a popular name.
There's a lot of Ethans. I've met a lot of Ethans.
A lot of kids.
Yep.
So there will be plenty more NBA players named Ethan.
Just the first.
Just the first, yeah.
They're all looking up to Ethan Thompson. They're saying, remember when he got those 3 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter? The Pacers scored 4 points. How exciting. Got a couple of minor slap drops recently. Let's talk about them in the up-down report.
Prepare your tunties. It's the up-down report.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're slowly but surely walking into slop season. The troughs are filling up. The People's Insider, Jake Fisher, had some fresh intel over on the Steinline Substack, writing that the Miami Heat are looking like a buyer at the trade deadline, and they have had internal discussions about trading with Memphis for Ja Morant. Tass, you up or down on the Heat trading for Ja?
I'm still down. I was down when the Ja Morant rumors started. I would find it difficult to take him on if you're the Miami Heat. You'd probably be trading Tyler Hero back. Those two guys are such, in similar roles. But I'm buying the devil that I know in Tyler Hero. You know that he is going to, number one, more likely play than Ja Morant. He played 77 games last year. I think, can he even grow even more? I think there's a possibility. Those two guys in Morant and Hero came into the league at the same time. They're in the same draft. And I think it's fair to question, it's been fair to question, I should say, that Tyler Hero may or may not be the guy on a good team. He can't play D. Well, he's adapted. He was part of a great defense last year. He could still grow and get better, as we're sort of contemplating about Ja Morant. Will he come back? Now, there's a possibility he does come back to his form. There is. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it if I was the Miami Heat. Knowing that we are fairly successful in what we're doing right now, I think that's a risk that you'd rather take with the devil that you know, again, that Tyler Hero is freaking solid. He's a solid player. He's still young. I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, I actually agree with you here. Hero's contract is a little bit cheaper. It's 1 year shorter, and he's a much better shooter, which I think is something that the Heat need. They're similar ages. I think there's like 6 months difference between the two of them, and it seems to me that Hero, at the very least, is maintaining his status as a player, whereas Ja has been declining for the past couple of years, and the athleticism piece is a big part of it, right? Like, I think Hero's going to be able to continue to shoot threes and shoot off the dribble, and Ja is being forced to shoot off the dribble at this point in his career, and it's not exactly coming around. But if you're making the devil's advocate case, last 15 games for the Heat, they're 13th in offense, 11th in defense, 13th in net rating. So just a fine, good team.
Yep.
They're only 5-8 this season against teams that are 500 or better. So to me, it seems like the Heat could use a boost. Like the Eastern Conference feels very wide open. Pistons have played great. Knicks are really rounding into form, but neither of those teams feels unbeatable to me. So I guess, side up, down question for you here. Up or down, should the Heat be buyers at the deadline?
Oh, I think they should be buyers, yeah. It's all about the package and what they're getting back. I think right here, right now, like you said about their last 13 games, Tyler Hero's only played 5 games this season, so that kind of goes against the argument that, he plays more than Ja Morant, but he does. Literally, we just haven't seen the best of him quite this season, although he's come in and played really well, but he has to adapt and play with them. But I think you look up and down the roster, they've got tradable contracts that they could assemble together. Going back to the Damian Lillard rumors when he was in Portland, they've always been looking. They're always looking. So I think that, yes, they need to get better. Eric Spoelstra creating that offense that is drive, kick, everybody move, everybody run. That's optimizing what they are right here, right now. But we know in the playoffs it ain't good enough to really go extremely deep. So, yeah, I think they should, if they could, get somebody.
Yeah, it looks like they could make a move. They could be a top 4 team, I think, in the East. And right now, if you're a top 4 team, like, you're taking your chances. I think if you're top 4 in the East, like, maybe we can make something happen in the playoffs if the bracket breaks correctly.
It's the time.
It's the time.
Feels like the year. Although, we just talked to Dr. Jim Borchers about players coming back. And the more I hear about Jason Tatum, the more I'm starting to buy that he's coming back. And that's a team that could be freaking awesome. I know we talked about it yesterday. I know Bill Simmons has said, I've never felt better about Jason Tatum coming back. I get it. But at the same time, you're right. This is a great year if you're in the Eastern Conference to put it all together. Pistons, Knicks, Celtics are the ones at the top, but the Magic are knocking, and then you're hoping if you're like a Miami Heat team that somebody becomes available. No disrespect to the Cavs, but those are the teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that could be the team to lose to the Thunder in the finals. There's a lot of teams out there. Over at The Athletic, our main man, Chill Will Guillory, wrote that the Pelicans have not yet engaged in any trade discussions for Zion Williamson, but they might trade either Herb Jones and or Trey Murphy if some team wows them with an offer. So, Tass, are you up or down on the Pels? Trading Herb or Trey?
I'm pretty down. I think they've got better options to trade. DeJounte Murray is the guy who stands out to me. Speaking of injuries, he's got to come back. He can, and he will come back in January, but he's just older. And it's a better situation to deal him because at his age, at 29, he doesn't fit in with this new Derik Queen-led team at all. And I would be reluctant to trade either Trey Murphy or Herb Jones because they've got such good deals. Trey Murphy's only 25. He's got a great contract through 29. And Jones, he's a little older. And so that's why I'm kind of down. If there's anyone to trade, it would be him, I think, at 27. But his deal is so good till 2030. I wouldn't want to deal either of them. I understand that they probably want to get a pick back in the 26th draft to help out Queen and Fears. There's no doubt. So I think Dumars and Troy Weaver should be looking. But those two guys are, they just fit. Contracts aren't crazy. Herb Jones is such a great locker room guy. He would be the one I'd think about at this point. But it all depends what's coming back for them. And as far as a 2026 draft pick, it's got to be a good one. It can't just be, hey, first round pick. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a good pick. It could mean it's protected to some degree.
Yeah, and that means it's probably unlikely that it's going to happen because a team that's going to have a good first round draft pick, it's probably not making a move for either Herb Jones or Trey Murphy. They both feel kind of like finishing pieces.
Right.
To me, but that's why the Pelicans are in a really tough spot because they don't have their 26th pick, as everybody knows. They also have a pick swap with the Hawks next season, 2027, thanks to the DeJounte Murray trade, if I'm not mistaken. New Orleans gets the worst pick between the Hawks and the Pelicans, but thankfully for them, this one is protected 1 through 4. So they might just have to eat the 26th pick. That thing is long gone. They'll be drafting at the end of the first round, getting likely the Hawks pick this coming draft. And then hopefully in 27, they stay bottomed out and actually hit a top 4 pick and get to keep their own pick, because that would be bad to lose like back-to-back top 5 picks when you're trying to build around Fears and Queen. The other thing is that Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, their skill sets are kind of perfect around Fears and Queen, being long wings, Herb more defensively tilted, Trey more of an offensively tilted guy. You see them working with both Fears and Queen, and those are spots that the Pelicans need to address and can help the development of their 2 rookies this season. But it's got to be wow us with an offer is the way Will put it, and I think that that's exactly right. If somebody comes through with a player that they really like, or if somebody comes through with a really juicy pick, then maybe you can make the move, because there is a bit of an age difference, 5 to 7 years, depending on whether it's Trey or Herb between the 2 young guys. That at least helps you get back on the right track from a rebuilding standpoint. I was also surprised to see that Will had Jordan Poole and DeJounte Murray as trade candidates. If they get offered anything, ship those guys out. Literally anything. 2nd round pick would be fine.
There's got to be a team out there that's good, but isn't just given their own pick. That's given somebody else's team out there. It is somebody else's pick, I should say. That could be an extremely good one, because as you said, you're a good team and you want one of these finishing pieces. As somebody like, one of the Herbs or the Treys, but is it a DeJounte Murray? Yeah, I mean, you'd have to go see him play, number one.
Yeah.
And it's just too early in slop season to know which picks every team has. But I'm already looking. There's got to be, again, a good team that's got a really good pick out there. Now, I'm not talking OKC with the Clippers pick, because I don't think that ain't going to happen. That would be ridiculous. But the Pelicans, right here, right now, after giving away the 2026 pick, it would just be weird to get rid of any young, good player on a good contract. But I could see DeJounte Murray. The Poole one, you don't think they'd want a redo for that deal that's not optimal, a mere
He's got
4 months ago
as well, right, on his contract. For what, I'm dumb, man. I still think Poole can be good in the right spot, but he needs to be in the right spot. He actually seems to have matured a little bit from like a leadership standpoint. He seems well liked on the Pelicans, and maybe that's because he's not doing anything ridiculous on the court, because he's mostly just making faces on the sideline. But I mean, those guys, neither Murray nor Poole seem to be long-term pieces for the Pelicans. So if there's a 5th or 6th man that you like and somebody's willing to throw it in, sure. Why not?
Yeah. The Poole thing, I'm a little reluctant to make the move.
You don't want to jump in the pool?
It seems like every year last year, I mean, not every year. Last year and this year, his coach likes him and says he's good. Like Brian Keefe liked him.
Exactly. He was good for the Wizards last year.
After he benched his ass. And then he's like, oh, yeah, he's good off the bench.
Exactly. The less Poole you need, the better. He'll wear cool clothes. Every once in a while, he'll wear a wizard robe, and he'll talk about his cats. That's just what Jordan Poole does.
He looks cool compared to Brian Keefe, that's for sure. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I can't believe
I just did a coach dirty. Why am I comparing
the Wizards
a player
hired
to
a
a coach?
first-time coach in Brian Keefe, and somehow he looks like he's 60 years old.
Yeah,
I don't know how that happened. That's a wild thing to be.
And they threw in Kevon Looney. Will Guillory threw in Kevon Looney as a rumor, which, any team would want him.
Yeah.
It's Kevon Looney. I thought he'd have a positive effect on Zion Williamson. I still think maybe if Kevon Looney was healthy to start the season, he literally wasn't playing, things would be different. But I bought into the Zion. I bought into what Zion was saying about Dumars, Weaver, his own personal coach that helped him out last year, and Kevon Looney. But I was wrong.
You are like Charlie Brown with the football, and Joe Dumars is Lucy holding it, just yanking it away from you time after time. First it was the All-Star game, then it was Zion Williams.
Don't blame Joe Dumars for the All-Star game.
I blame Joe.
For Zion, sure. For the Pelicans, don't blame him for the All-Star game. Blame Adam.
That one's on Adam.
Blame Mr. Beast. Blame Kevin Hart. They screwed up. I was literally thinking about Joe Dumars and what he said last year before before the All-Star game. Yeah, we interviewed him, and I asked him, is there going to be gaps between these games where it's just too long? And he said, they got it taken care of. He didn't know.
They didn't have it taken care of at all.
He didn't know. He just said that. Obviously, he wasn't dealing with that. That wasn't his part of his dominion. He just was coming on to say, I believe in it, and I still believe in Joe for believing in the All-Star game. It ain't dead, but he just didn't know about it. And so anyway, we gotta grab that clip, and I'm gonna make some sort of video of hoping that we don't get lied to again. They can't screw up again. They can't say, hey, Mr. Beast, come on the court for 15 minutes. Or Kevin Hart, come talk for 15 minutes. Hey, TNT, you're done, but you're not done, but you're done. So, give us a goodbye. That can't happen again.
It can't happen again, but it's going to happen again. Another guy Joe Dumars believed in. Whoa, boy. Whoa, biggity boy. NBA line of the night brought to you today by Sammy J93.
What?
Said hi in the stream team with a $4.99 super chat. So you get to sponsor Whoa Boy for today.
I can't believe that. I didn't see a $4.99. Congrats.
Yeah,
to everybody.
You got a good deal compared to the last one.
That's true.
You never know. That's the only way to sponsor Whoa Boy. Hop in the super chats on the stream team. Last night's Whoa Boy goes to Derik Queen. Big boy grilling on the roof. 33 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 blocks for Derik Queen, and the loss does not matter. Went 11 of 15 from the field, 11 of 13 at the free throw line. Did have 4 turnovers, but who cares? 10 assists. Became the 8th player since blocks have been recorded with a 33, 10, and 10 plus 4 blocks, and only the 5th player ever with a 30-point triple-double before turning 21 years old. You know the other guys? You can get 3 of them easily.
Luka.
Yep.
LeBron.
Yep.
The 3 before 21.
Pretty recent. We haven't seen this man play for a while, but apparently he's practicing again.
Victor
Wembanyama, the last guy you probably won't get it, De'Aaron Fox. So pretty cool stuff from Derik Queen. They call him DQ on the broadcast, which reminds me of Dairy Queen.
Of course.
And his name is Derik Queen.
Yep.
So I think we should call him the Ice Cream Man. Ice Cream Man is coming! They could play it in New Orleans. It would sound awesome.
Yes, Queen. I saw that going around yesterday. Yes, Dairy Queen for sure. It's good.
He's good. Yeah, he looked awesome last night, setting the table. He had so many wild, reverse finishes. Had one where he thought he got fouled, just chucked it over his head. And, he just made the same layup 3 possessions earlier. So that one went in as well. Made him in the 4th quarter. Throws a backdoor pass. Throws an alley-oop. This guy does it all.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Even if
Joe was cooking on that one.
They did well.
They did well on that one.
Should they have picked him with their first pick? All right, now I'm getting speculative. There's no need to do that to Mr. Fears. They cooked there. Sometimes he gives away on the other end, for sure.
Yes, he does.
But who cares? Just build around him. If you're a Pelicans fan, at least you can watch some incredible stuff that he does, as you just said. Yep. That's some good company for a young player who didn't start the year as a starter player. He's coming off the bench, so.
Yeah, I think it was Fast Break Breakfast that had the 8th player with the block, the 33, 10, 10, and 4 line, and it was all Hall of Famers, and I don't know if Alvin Adams is a Hall of Famer. I'll have to ask my dad about that one, the only guy who talks about Alvin Adams. But I know Derik Queen is good, but wouldn't you rather have Noah Senge? 2 other guys who did good. Me and you, Tas.
Oh, yeah.
Last night in the pick'em, we had the Suns plus 10.5 points, and they money lined them. It's a win for us, a loss for Skeets. You and Skeets 4-2. I am 2-4. What's tonight's game?
Well, it was definitely easy to pick the Raptors and the Knicks in the NBA Cup, but Skeets didn't want it. He was worried about having to pick the Raptors. The line is getting bigger there. The Knicks now favored by 4.5 because people are on the Knicks. So I went with the other one. This one. The Battle of Florida in Orlando, Miami visiting. It's basically a pick'em because the Magic are favored by 1.5. JD with the NBA Cup here on the graphic.
Look at that.
Looking good.
Victor Solomon.
I was, you got that Heat logo. I say looking good. It's got a little flair. Anyway.
This is the Skeets did these ones.
Oh,
So it's all skeets.
Oh, yeah, it looks great. I will say, I was driving here in Georgia yesterday. I see a license plate from Florida that's got the Miami Heat logo on it. It wasn't the regular standard logo. It was the Miami Vice logo on a license plate.
Cool.
It was cool. It was cool seeing. Anyway, I got the magic. You guys do have the Miami Vice Heat, you and Skeets.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe they'll be viced up tonight since it's a cup game. Just think some things to figure out for Orlando with Franz going down, Paolo assuming a bigger role.
I'm telling you, as soon as Desmond Bane gets mad, the team performs afterwards. After Spike and OG Anunoby with that ball.
Who do you think he's most likely to fight on the Miami Heat?
Ooh, the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I think a lot of good guys.
Yeah, super
nice
good
guys.
Who's the mean guy?
I mean, Davion Mitchell likes to stir it up.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned him, and he was laughing when Myron Gardner,
A new guy alert.
yeah, deep cut on the Miami Heat bench, was talking crap to Klay Thompson. We showed him in the worst of the week this past week. So if he fights anybody, it'd probably be Myron Gardner. If he's there. I don't even know if he'd be there.
Watch your back, Myron. You mentioned it, 4.5-point favorites, the Knicks over the Raptors right now. What you got?
I'm taking Toronto.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
For the cup.
I'll be watching it on Playback tonight.
Nice one.
Yeah, I've got to. This is the NBA Cup.
It's the NBA Cup. Tas will be chatting live on Playback tonight. Visually, you're going to be seeing that game. And he's going to be going head-to-head with Skeets. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he'll be
my goodness.
he'll be chatting it up on Substack. I got to go on Playback because some sad news, Playback will be shut down this Friday.
Yeah.
Now, will it be back? Yeah. They're going to be purchased, but they're in the process of being sold. So, yeah, it's a sad day. I'm going to pour one out for Playback, but also Substack will be happening today. Multiple channels of No Dunks enjoying the NBA Cup. I had to. This back-to-back games, as they've given each game some space. They basically start back-to-back. Like they started earlier.
Yeah.
We
got really early starts tonight.
6 and then 8:30 Eastern.
6 and 8:30.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't sound happy about that.
It's just unusual to start games at that hour of the day.
It surely
It's
is.
just very early. 6 o'clock.
Things have changed.
Things have changed, including the schedule. The schedule has changed, is the main thing that I noticed. I saw the car ahead of me yesterday, driving home from here, had the license plate one number ahead of me. How weird is that? Exact same first 6 digits, and then the last number was an 8 and ours was a 9.
So why do you think that happened?
I don't know. I don't think you should ever encounter the license plate that's right next to yours. It felt dangerous to me. Like they're tracking us somehow. What are they running here?
Yeah, I immediately think, well, we ordered ours a second apart or at the exact same time. Is that what happens? Is that how it works? Can't wait to find out.
Did we get our cars the same day?
Can't wait to find. We're going to have
Who knows?
another doctor license plates on to explain how it all works tomorrow. Is that cool?
Doctor license plates. Tune in tomorrow. We got doctor license plates coming on.
Urban planning, everything that happens around cities, very interesting stuff.
Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. Join us tomorrow. It is going to be a packed show. We are going to learn about license plates on the back of cars, on the front of cars, because that whole thing.
Some states do it.
Some don't. Canada.
You got front plates?
They got front plates,
Okay.
but now you can just renew. They don't care about the renew stickers on a license plate. They literally doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got to do your license plate renewal every year.
Yeah, but they don't care. You have to do it manually, but they don't care if the sticker's on there. Do not care. You see the little stickers on there that say like 5 years ago. You don't get pulled over.
You didn't want to save this for Dr. License Plate?
Hopefully he joins or she joins. Come on, Doc.
Come on, Doc. Embrace the blades, people.